Welcome back to another Bourbon and Banter session. Buddy, good to be with you.
Always, Alex.
We are going to go back to our roots here. We're going to talk about the future of work and what it actually means, what's included.
What does it
How
mean?
do you prepare for it? Why do you even care in the first place? Why are you listening to us? So maybe we should have started with
Man,
this.
this should have been episode 1.
I don't know. Why
That's a little too many of these.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe more banter, less bourbon. Why don't you start? Tell us, what does the future of work mean to you? Because we throw that term around a lot.
We do.
And, what does it mean and why should somebody care?
So it means a lot of different things to different people. But if you boil it all down, the future of work, you start looking at the way that work gets done today, right? We focus on, at Vsimple, we focus on the discovery to cash process. Like, how does that get done today? And how is it going to be done differently tomorrow? And tomorrow can be next month. With us, it can be literally tomorrow, but it can also be next week, next month, next year, next decade. So what does that future look like, right? So what is the work that's being done and how does it progress? And for me, in my mind, immediately goes to the future of work is the elimination of menial tasks and the automation of the things that a human being doesn't need to continually do, and allowing the human, the person, to physically get work done that is better, faster, more valuable for the business, and personally more exciting and more valuable for the person.
Well, that sounds so practical. And I like that because, when I hear future of work, I think about futurist, and it's people that are saying by the year 2035, like cars are going to fly themselves, that kind of thing. And it's like, no, future of work is the incremental and, phase changes that happen within organizations every day, every month, every year that get them a little bit better. But they're all kind of going towards trends, like you said, of automating, efficiency, more value. So there's step functions to get there.
That's correct.
And so it's one thing to talk about the future of work, like I said, in the long-term view of in 10 years it's going to be this. And good perspective to have, I guess, if you're marching towards something. But
sure.
I like to think about it in a more practical sense of things are changing right now. We're writing the future of work. Sure, the pandemic drove a lot of that, but there were trends that were already in place in terms of digitization of all kinds of processes, collaboration and communication. So I like pulling it back into how should I think about future of work if I'm in an organization where maybe it feels like we're doing things the same way it was 10 years ago, and I'm not ready to make that big leap towards fully automated digital transformation and other scary words. So how does an organization start thinking about preparing for the changes that, they're inevitable. They're going to happen, or you're not going to be part of the future of work.
That's correct, right? So it's baby steps. It's looking at the landscape of your business and identifying the opportunities for improvement and doing that on a daily basis, right? Like, what else can we do differently to ensure that people are doing meaningful and valuable work and the productivity per person is maximized? Because what you identify is if you look at your landscape and you're looking around going, wow, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things that don't add a tremendous amount of value but have to be done for us to do work. Those are the things that are going to, one, drive your people away, and two, as an organization, not allow you to advance, right? So the landscape of business and competitiveness is increasing every day. So in business, you're competing, whether you know it or not, for talent, for customers, loyalty, right? These things that are important to you as an organization. And if you're focusing on consistent and perpetual improvement, the future of work will happen for you. The issue is that we get confused because you hear AI and, the future of work's going to happen in the metaverse.
Buzzwords.
And you're like, what does that mean? How are you?
Well, I like looking at it on a micro level too, because it is full of buzzwords, buzz phrases, and general BS. But I think You can really break this down when you look at consumer. Let's just take an example here. Mm-hmm. If I order a Domino's pizza, I know when they're putting pepperonis on it. I know when they're on the street next door. You've got complete visibility to it. When I think about B2B, it's a little bit more of a mess. If I order something, especially if it's a big order, I don't know the steps that are taking place on the other side. I don't know when to expect things. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of questions being asked. That's the future of work to me, is how do we enhance that experience of doing business? That's improved transparency, improved communication, improved accuracy, speed, all of these things. And I can see a future where a business that needs a highly complicated product or service can get it with the click of a button. We're really far away from that today. Yeah. But there are steps and tools and things that you can do to start bringing yourself closer to that future. So I like to think about it as start with that destination of what's perfect state.
Right.
It's self-serve. They can just get what they need, and it's there instantaneously. And kind of work your way back to, all right, how do we start working towards that in baby steps?
Yeah. Well, if you start with that end state, it can be panic-stricken, right? Because it's like, oh, wow, we are so far from being able to accomplish that. But if you pull it in and you start identifying that, hold on a second, what is AI really, right? Like, we're talking about artificial intelligence. People want to blow it out of proportion. It's the aggregation of data and the use of data to be able to automate, right? That's all it is. It's not some, robust, it's literally, we're doing it right now within vSimple, but we don't call it artificial intelligence because it puts it on a level where people are confused about it. Yeah. So what does that do for the work? Well, it allows people to work better and faster and do more meaningful work, and the organization to benefit from that. So you start looking at, hey, well, how do we utilize that? So to your point about the Domino's pizza thing, I spent 20 years in distribution, and it baffled me when Amazon was the first, right? So Amazon comes out, they put distribution on the map. Before Amazon, distribution was really a dirty word. It was like, oh, you're in the distribution business. Oh, you're a middleman. And it's like, oh gosh, no. Like, there's tremendous value that we add. And then Amazon came out and they're like, distribution is awesome, right? Like, oh wow, like they can really accelerate these things. And the reason it is, they gave you insight. They were transparent. There was a clear understanding of price. There was a clear understanding of result. In the B2B space, still to this day, most companies don't have a way to be able to provide that information to their customers. And the reason they don't is not because they don't want to. It's because the information isn't at their fingertips. So if you are overworked on a day-to-day basis and trying to react to the situations around you instead of proactively approach your customer base, you put yourself in a situation of, hold on, like let me go check on that.
Yeah, I'm always behind.
And 2 days later, you give an answer. And you're like, well, but I don't understand. I order something from Amazon or my Domino's pizza, and I see it go in the oven, out of the oven, in a box, into the car, into the driver's hands, and he's delivering at your doorstep.
Well, that was iterative, though, because remember when, I don't know if it was around the .com era, and I think it was Domino's that had the first pizza ordering website, and that was revolutionary. Because I'm old enough to remember calling.
Oh yeah,
that's what you did. That's how you order pizza, and it was like, who's going to order pizza online? To an app, to Alexa, to what? I mean, it's amazing in a 20-year span how quickly it changed from dialing up to now. They just know. I think I even saw once you could text an emoji and they knew what your order was from previous.
Yeah, from your history. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I don't know the practicality of that, but it's still pretty cool. And I go back to the analogy of, like, if I want to run a marathon, I don't start running 26 miles tomorrow.
That's right.
I run a half mile.
That's right.
And maybe I bump it up to 3/4 of a mile the next day.
Yeah.
You have to approach it that way. If you know what that end state is, great. What are little things we can do to start getting there? Because like I said, that Domino's pizza journey from phone call to texting an emoji was a 20-year span.
Yeah.
We take for granted that that's always been the case, but no, it takes time, years, decades sometimes to get to these end states. And so,
well, I got to walk along Pizza Hut at the time.
Okay.
So Pizza Hut was a customer of ours, and I got to see Pizza Hut try to figure out the ordering app, and it was a lot of,
yeah.
It was you would have thought they were trying to launch shuttles into the stratosphere, because it was, trial and error. But this was at a time where, like you said, it wasn't something that was readily done. And the ones that were doing it were so far advanced. Today, like, there's not a reason, there is no excuse for an organization to not have invested in something as far as like an operating platform, right? Something that allows their people to work better, faster, to create the automation that's necessary to move things along seamlessly, so that the people that are in the organization can do work that is physically meaningful to them in the organization.
Well, one of the worst things that happen in terms of, branding, in my opinion, is this division of there are tech companies and there are, non-tech companies or legacy companies, because ultimately, yeah, if you sell tech, sure, you're a tech company. But there's not this division where that means tech doesn't come into these businesses. Every business has to bring tech into it. Maybe that's not their core competency. I mean, Domino's, Pizza Hut, they need to focus on making the best pizza in the world, but they also need to focus on the customer experience, the employee experience. How do you enhance those things? Well, I can only go so far by making good pizza.
Yeah.
How they order it, what their rewards are, if I'm an employee, what the culture, all those things.
The baseline, right? The foundation is that your product is good, right? So
it's
whatever,
the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum. If you sell pepperoni pizzas, it better be a good pepperoni pizza. But what differentiates you and where you win today is not just in the pepperoni pizza. It's the experience that you provide along the way. Chick-fil-A has been notorious for this for multiple decades now. Their chicken sandwich is delicious, but it's chicken sandwich, right? Like,
there's only so much you can do in innovation.
They don't win because of a chicken sandwich. They win because of the service and the culture that's been created, and the automation that is in their facility is just unbelievable.
They get you in and out. That line can be out the parking lot.
I got to run alongside them, and we were a part of the single to double drive-through.
Okay, that's cool.
And they were looking at a third, right? And so
double deckers.
What people don't know is they actually had to extend the back of their building to be able to do that. So yeah, they doubled their drive-through, but they also added square foot on the back because they had to add equipment because of the throughput. So from a production facility, they are unbelievably automated. Everything has a place and a time, and there is a clear understanding of a path. And that's why when you're in the line, and it looks like, it's going to be 45 minutes, and 7.5 minutes later, you're pulling out of there going, how did they do this?
And I bet they don't think about themselves as a chicken sandwich company.
Not in the least bit.
And I think that's a big part of it. First of all, is recognizing that your purpose, your mission is not that one thing that you produce over and over again. It's an experience. It's an outcome.
That's correct.
It's something bigger than that. And that's where, not to this isn't an ad for Domino's. We're not being sponsored, but very early on.
We would like your money though, Domino's.
Yeah. Very early on, they recognized that it's got to be more than just pizza, because anybody can make pizza. And candidly, that's true for almost anything. If you're not building cutting edge technology to send rovers to Mars, it's probably not out of the realm of possibility that somebody else makes something as good as yours.
You have lots of competitors.
So where do you find advantages? In efficiency, in service, in that quality of experience, all of these things, and tech enables a lot of that. So
absolutely,
you've got to map this. Do, if you want to call it value stream mapping or whatever, understand what it is your business does today, and then really be critical about how can we improve that? How can we adopt new technologies to make ourselves better prepared for the future of work?
Yeah. And like you said, you don't have to bite it all off in one bite, right? Like is that
a pizza analogy?
Unless you eat pizza like me. Yeah. It's an evolution, right? And what's beautiful about where the tech landscape is today, the investment that you can make today can pay dividends tomorrow. So it's this, we've eliminated these barriers to entry, and now basically any size organization can compete very differently. And so that old adage when I was talking about the B2B companies that I got to run alongside, and you got to see, like, it's not that they didn't want to provide the information, they just couldn't. That's no longer an excuse.
Yeah.
And as a customer, that's no longer an excuse. So you're like, or I'll get back to you, and you don't get back to me. Not because you didn't want to, just because you can't get the information that you need. It's no longer an excuse. Mm-hmm. I'm not accepting that as a behavior or the norm. Right, the norm has significantly changed. The bar has been elevated to a point now where you continue to give me those excuses, and I'm going to find other people to do business with.
I love that. Yeah, get 1% better every day. Continually focus on this growth mindset, and how do we just continue to layer on what we do. And that's it. I mean, you're prepared for the future of work if you have that mindset of we're going to continue to chip away and get better and better. It's companies that stagnate, that struggle, that are very comfortable with the way things are today. And, history is littered with companies that got comfortable and got devoured.
It's the kiss of death.
Yeah. And so
not only is it the kiss of death for organizations, but it's people on this planet, right? If we're not trying to progress every day, and we're not trying to get just incrementally better, learn a little bit more, be a little kinder, right? These things that
should be fun.
I mean, these are methodologies that everybody should be building into their business to ensure that there is a future for their business.
Yeah.
And that's what the future of work is all about.
Well, I've enjoyed the conversation. Banter, bourbon was good, but the banter was even better. The bourbon might have been actually better.
I'm about to say, the bourbon was pretty good on this one.
Both of them were good. We'll call it a tie. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.